All right, guys. We have a Semogue 1438. He's been used 20 times, and he is now in this cycle with the others. So today's going to be 21. I believe he's kind of the last one right now that we're bringing up to 21. And I do have an Omega that's a really flexy one. It's got a harder to remember nomenclature there, but I'll put some more uses on it, and we can see if we can get it up to the right use count with the others. This is a number 21, a vintage Gillette, made in the UK, Aristocrat, and it's a 21. First I thought it might be a 15, but I think almost all the 15s have an open comb here. The 15s do have the flat base plate here. This is the solid base plate, or the flat base plate. It doesn't have that diamond bevel. And so when I bought it, I thought it was the 15, but I think it's a 21. It has the hollow, which is easy to tell because the ones that aren't hollow, they're solid, like the 16. It has a dip right here because this knob screws up and down a little bit. Whereas this one, since it's hollow, it's thicker right here. And this is not. This little shiny band, unknurled band, is the same height as the rest of this upper handle up here. It's all connected. And with the 16, you'll see it'll drop in diameter right there. All right, we also see this is not a notched center bar. This has these little flanges here on both sides. I like them because I think they really hold the blade securely. But there was a gimmick that came out so that you could take the container of blades and not even have to touch a blade with the little notched piece. And so then they took out these flanges in favor of the notches. But those notches can now be used to help to date and identify razors. You've got this kind, and then at some point they cut it off, and then you have notches. So if you know you have a notched one, then you know it's kind of in the future or after, this kind. Solid bar. Also this one, notice the line here. There's no center bar. On later ones, the center bar will come up through right there. And these two barn doors will shut right next to it so that you can see it. That's something to look for as well. So let's go ahead and open it up and put in the blade, Personna Platinum. And it's got, 12 uses on it approximately. It's been doing really well in a lot of the razors I put it in. I bet this one will be fine too. So you see how those flanges fit right in those holes, the slots there. No blade adjustment needed. Tighten her down and you're ready to, also, this 21 does not have any end caps. You can see how the metal comes out, makes a turn. Later models will have end caps right there. Many of them will. The Gillette Sheraton does not have end caps, as I recall. It's not an Aristocrat, but it's one of the few that doesn't have the end caps. All right, I showed you the brush, yeah. The soap we're going to use is Provence, a French soap. It's a vegan soap. Number 63 is the scent. Man, I do like it. Warm and spicy and manly. I definitely enjoy it. I think the original Provence has some sage and stuff in it. I tried it, didn't really like it. It should perform great though. All right, so I've had this soap soaking for a few minutes. And so now I poured out the water. And then we're going to load for 50 seconds. This little brush has been soaking for 15 minutes maybe. Let's load for 50. Oh, the 01 rolled around right there, so let's just go at it. This is a stiffer brush. This has the extra grade bristles. The 1800 I used the other day also has the extra, but it's got some premium mixed in. This one, all extra. And extra is the rougher of the Semogue grade bristles. But the tips will still split and get somewhat soft. That's what I hear. So that's what we're on our way to as we keep working this guy. Notice you just kind of have to let some of it overflow when the tub is like this. You could take this puck out, put it in another container. If the container's wider, then you can do a couple of different things. And that's 50 seconds. All right. Some of the airy stuff right there. All right, I'm going to rinse this off. Be right back. And so today we're continuing. Now I called this the 42 bowl the other day because I didn't know what Dollar Tree called it. It's an awesome bowl. Got it at the Dollar Tree. It's made of melamine. Looked it up on the website. It's called the white beaded melamine bowl. So let's just call it that. So we'll just get, it doesn't have any contouring in there. But what happens is, since the bottom is only flat this much, anytime the brush hits any of this curved stuff, it causes the bristles to flex against each other. And so maybe there's not a pebble glued to the bottom, but that flexing of the bristles still causes lather to get generated pretty nicely. And then these nice high sides means that the lather hasn't overflowed yet. Don't expect that to really change unless I just way overshoot and end up with tons and tons of lather. And then the way the high sides don't stay vertical, they angle out a little bit, and so I'm not knocking my knuckles. So we're going to fill up the syringe here so I can add water. I had been doing a 30-second load with some pretty soft small bore brushes, and I don't think they were picking up as much soap. And so this is a hard soap. It's like quadruple milled. It's rare to find a quadruple milled soap, but this is one. And so it just needs more. Either you need to soak it for a longer time or you need to load for longer. And since I generally like to just soak it for a certain amount of time, like as long as it takes me to prep my gear, I choose to increase my load time rather than my soak time, pre-soak. Now maybe this brush was able to stir up more soap because it's stiffer. Wouldn't surprise me. He's a pretty comfortable brush, so even the extra grade bristles from Semogue are comfortable. It is scrubby, but it's not scritchy or prickly, scratchy at all. I'm really looking forward because, I mean, 20 uses, not very much for a Boar. Really looking forward to watching how this brush grows, you know, how it's going to feel at the 100 use mark as more and more tips start to split. I keep overwatering this soap because, well, of the way I like to take it and make it really elastic. So I'll try not to do that this time. Soap's coming together nicely. Got 2 teaspoons on it already. Let's go ahead and put half a teaspoon more. I do plan on maybe gluing something to the bottom of this bowl just to keep the brush from sliding down into the lather. Not really, I don't think it's needed for agitation because, I mean, you can see it's whipping up some good stuff. I had, was it HD Shaves recently that asked me about when I reach off screen and grab brushes. I think he was thinking I had a big old brush library up there, and so anytime I mentioned a brush I could bring it down. Well, I don't. I just have a few types, and it just kind of ended up that way. I didn't do it on purpose. I'll show you real quick. Just have a little mini shelf up there. On the bottom shelf I've got a basket that has a scale for weighing soaps as I track progress. It's got a container of Mitchell's wool fat, a mug of Williams, and my fine Santal from Fine Accoutrements Santal Absolute puck that's inside an Old Spice mug. It's got things like toothbrushes and scissors and a hairbrush and that sort of thing. But up on the top layer I have some brushes here, and I use these for illustrations. And up there is also where I put my shaving bowl. So right up there, right now, since I've taken these brushes down, it's pretty bleak. This is a great example for when I'm using a finest badger brush like this or this, and I want to illustrate how the thick black band here is thinner on a 3-band. I also have this one here because this is a golden nib silver tip premium grade, and it's just a really soft, airy brush, and I really enjoy using it. And so I want to keep a couple in here that where I can just walk into the bathroom and start going. You know, I think I've got blades here. I've got the 3 soaps I mentioned, and so all I need to do is just pick up a razor and come in here, and then I could just start shaving. You know, I wanted there to be a few favorites in here in case I just wanted to kind of go off the rails and just come in here all Wild West style and do whatever I wanted. And so then I have these 2 finest brushes because they help illustrate. This is kind of more of a bulb shape, and this is the fan shape. And they also illustrate this one illustrates density really well, and then this one illustrates the kind of lack of that much density. So they're teaching aids. This is a Sterling Finest Badger. It's one that I was putting a lot of uses on to try to get it to relax a little bit. So that's kind of why it made its way here. And then this guy, I just haven't decided about him yet. I don't know. And so he's here because I want to remember to try him more often. I keep forgetting. But so that's why he's here. And that's really it. And so I just have some examples up there. So when I'm talking about brush shapes, 3-band versus 2-band, I have some illustrations to help people understand. All right, I forgot to wet my face before I was working on this lather, so let's take care of that. 24 hours of growth is probably what we're dealing with. And I also have a little tiny drink cup up there. Keep my throat from getting dry. All right, so let's feel the lather because we've got 2.5 teaspoons in it. I don't want to overdo it. Yeah, let's try this guy out. It is laying down, even when overly wet, it lays down a nice slick layer. So I think this is a nice performing soap. It's not going to feel super luxurious in between your fingers, but it'll feel good on your face even if you overwater it. But right now it's got kind of a creamy feel to it, and you can see those little pokey, pointy things. When on my other kind of better soaps, and this is kind of an inexpensive soap, so we shouldn't expect it really to act like a better soap because it might cost half as much as some others. All right, so when we kind of pull the lather up, we can look at the stretch. Now that still kind of collapses on itself. Let's see how this guy is going to act. Hey, he might be well hydrated. Yeah, see, look, we've got some peaks here, And see, that doesn't look all gooey in there. It's kind of holding its structure. I definitely take other soaps past this point in terms of hydration, but I don't think this soap likes that. And I think many vegan soaps tend to be that way. They don't have that tallow to be slick, and so maybe you have to run them a little drier. So let's just spin this one a little bit more. Make sure we don't have any wet spots. Really happy with this bowl. Just kind of stumbled on it at the Dollar Tree. There's a black Dollar Tree bowl. It's a soup bowl, and it's a ceramic. And it comes in other colors too, but it's just the right shape. It's a slightly different shape, more of a U shape, with vertical sides instead of the ones that flare out quite this much, and it's not as deep. It's deeper than the Captain's Choice bowl and the fine accoutrements lather bowl for sure, but it's not as deep. This is quite deep. Need to bring my ruler here one of these days and show you. All right. Water on my face one more time. And let's see how this lather feels now that it should not be quite as hydrated. Now this is just a 20-use brush, and so don't be surprised if some boars, when they're young, you have to kind of dip back in the lather. You may not have to if you are a face latherer, and so you start with a concentrate on your brush. But when you're like me and you start with the actual real deal on your brush, you might have to go back and pick up some more. And again, we get a nice massage feel. It's not scritchy or scratchy or anything like that. I don't really do a pre-shave routine, like washing my face with a glycerin soap or something like that. I just kind of let my shaving soap do that job. Fairly easy to splay, not having to work too hard to make it splay nice, comfortable. I think this slightly higher than medium backbone is going to be a pretty neat experience once the tips get softer. So scrubbing away dirt, any loose particles, skin or whatever that might mess with the razor. Hopefully we're getting some soap maybe in and amongst the hairs to make them stand up a little bit, you know, that'd be nice. And we are given the lather time to join our skin to be able to protect it instead of, if your lather's too dry, it doesn't join your skin, it just kind of sits up on top of your skin. So you get less protection, probably get more irritation that way, and you definitely won't feel that glide that is just very enjoyable. All right, so as usual, first pass. Getting quite a bit of blade feel with this guy. I haven't used him in a long time. Now, is it always going to be that way? Well, who knows? I'll have to try other blades in him and see. The 16 and the 66 and other aristocrats usually shave a little better than this. Sometimes you can do some research and see that the head of one will be the same as another. In fact, what is this? Not sure what this one is kind of analogous to. Like the 66 is cheaper than the 16. Just the construction and that sort of thing. It's less solid and it costs a lot less. But I think the heads are pretty much the same. So if you want the same feel as the very expensive and harder to find 16, buy yourself a 66. Still very pretty. Still, shaves very well. Just didn't quite cost as much. Oh yeah, let's do the bottom. Now, this blade feel that I'm getting could be, if my lather's not strong, it could be the lather's not protecting me quite as well. It also could be this particular blade in this razor is not a great match. So that's why we try a few razor blades in the razor. This guy's pretty low on my usage list, and so I'm gonna give him a few shaves and see where I like to put him on my favorites list, and then I'll know how often I want to shave with him. Now, this lather, I wonder, it may just not get really creamy with that nice creamy viscosity that you get from tallow soaps, for instance. It just, may not get that way. Good news is it's very shaveable, and it's inexpensive, and it will last a very long time. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm going to be able to get 1.5 years of shaves and from this puck, and we're looking at maybe $11 or $12 for the puck. So that is a very nice bit of money. This guy has stiffer bristles than usual, and so he might fling some soap because of that. And this was pretty dry, and I'm still not really getting a creamy feel, and that's kind of what led me to say that maybe, this guy is not gonna get that luxurious creamy feel that my fingers might like to enjoy. However, it feels good on the face, and I've definitely had some very nice shaves with it, protecting and giving good glide. So let's just see now. Sometimes the first pass can be very different than the future ones, which is nice because the third pass or second, whatever your last pass ends up to be, it's always nice to leave on a more positive note. Definitely more blade feel here than with the 66, even with the 15, which is an open comb. The 16 as well is smoother. So this might be a good choice for guys who like a little bit more aggression, a little bit more blade feel. I'd probably say it's in the middle. Nah, I'd say it's a tip over. I think of the Game Changer 84 gap, for instance, and the 66 and the 16 kind of in the middle. They cut well, and so you've got some exposure there, but they're also comfortable. So they ride that line down the middle. This guy, a little on the higher side. Maybe how I remember the Gillette New being a vintage razor from America. It's an open comb, and there's some blade feel there. All right, let's rinse. All right, here's the third pass. Now, I want to do an experiment. I've had 2 passes now. The lather was very serviceable, slick on my face, protected pretty well. I felt the slickness. It just doesn't feel all that, buttery and creamy. So what I'm going to do is put some lather on my face here with this last pass, because it's not changing, it's still kind of the same. And then what we'll do is we'll start to add a little bit of water, and we'll see what happens. Does it flush out the lather because maybe the lather has enough water? Or does it activate some of the soap that may be waiting for more water? And then does it become creamy? So let's just see what happens. Almost like a face lather. Just going to work it and just my face is going to act as a big old sensor, so I can feel if the viscosity changes. And of course I can, see it as well. Sometimes if you've used a harsh razor, this is not a good thing to do with a scrubby brush on the third pass, because you've already used it quite a bit to work your face, Could get a little bit of brush burn, perhaps. I personally don't really like it when the lather just kind of falls off. I'll adjust my ratios or whatever to try to keep that from happening. Some people don't mind it at all. You can also know that your lather is, might be too dry. If you do what I'm doing and you add some water gradually to your brush and you start getting tons of it coming around the sides, because what you're doing is you're building lather. You've got that concentrate in your brush, maybe also on your face. You add water and it's like you're working the bowl and you're building your lather now. You're not just spreading it around. And so that built up lather starts just foaming out of the brush like you drop the old baking soda into a vinegar volcano. Yeah, this is just not going to be a creamy soap. Now, maybe I could try, and I feel like I'm at that point now, I could try face lathering it. Sometimes if you start with super concentrate, then you know. But see, look, I'm not really getting soap production around the brush here. It's actually getting wetter and wetter and around here. And so then I know that the water is coming in and not activating on some existing concentrate soap. It's coming in and making the existing lather there wetter. And so we know that it's probably not going to cream up and not going to get creamier. And now that I've kind of found that out about this soap, I think I can start experimenting with other things, because I think even if I put even less water with this soap, I don't think it would really make too much difference. It's just not, and that's what I'm going for. I like to go for that nice, wet, creamy feel, and maybe this soap just isn't built to do that. All right, cross grain again. Yeah, it's smoother now, since we've done a lot of cutting in the first two passes. But hey, what this soap lacks in creaminess, it makes up for in price per shave, because if you could pay $11 and shave for a year and a half, then that is a very marketable quality. I am going to not do my, I'm not even doing my my cross grain stroke here from down to up, because I thought that extra blade feel, I know this is a nice sharp blade. It's performed well for me in many razors. I know it's capable of cutting nicely. And so, because I was getting more blade feel, I thought, I'll bet this is going to require less finesse, less attacks in different directions to get my tricky spot. And I was right. So, tomorrow, what I'm doing is, I don't know if you've seen a pattern, I'm trying to shave with this PDP number 63 every other day. And in between that, I'm getting, there's some new soaps that I've got that I've been wanting to try, samples or just new tubs. Recently, over the past several months, I have bought 2 big boxes of soap, kind of almost like a blind buy, a grab bag, if you will. And so it's taken quite a while, because if you've got new soap in, you've got favorites you still want to enjoy, but you've got new stuff in, it's tricky sometimes. Then you also get some samples in from some new soaps that have been released. Like for instance, I just recently ordered, maybe yesterday, samples of Nordost, the new orange-based soap, orange scented soap from Barrister and Mann, and a couple from Black Ship Grooming, Thomas II, I believe, and then maybe Queen Anne's Revenge. So those are some samples that are, you know, coming down the pipe. Yeah, and then some other old tubs that I got during a big purchase, and then I'm gonna offset that with the PDP number 63 because I want to get about 15 shaves in, and then I'll be able to look at the weight change of the soap, see how many grams of product I'm using per shave, and then of course I can forecast how long a tub is going to last me. You know, I may not like Pinaud Clubman, the traditional aftershave lotion. It's a pity because if there is an aftershave that's from traditional wet shaving that so many other places have, drugstores and grocery stores, it's Pinaud, the original. Well, it's not my thing. Fortunately, there's Brute there. Unfortunately, my wife doesn't like that, but I kind of like it. So if she's not around, I could use that. But Pinaud does make Whiskey Woods. I like that one. This is funny because I ordered this off Amazon. I got it. I thought from the Amazon picture that the bottle was this tall. And so when I got it, I thought, man, it's a lot smaller than I thought. And it is a pretty woody with a little boozy to it. Not much skin food. And so this is mainly alcohol and scent. And so in a way it's a test of this razor here and my technique, how everything went. Stinging's gone. A little bit of stinging kind of everywhere. I may have even raised up a little bit of redness. Sometimes a pure alcohol splash will do that. But yeah, stinging's gone. So that's pretty good. Looks like maybe the 50-second load was a good choice because I don't have all that much left over. You know, a pass, maybe. I could probably squeeze 2 passes out of that if I really had to. So I'm glad I chose 50 seconds. And that might be something pretty standard with this soap. It's just so hard that unless you're going to soak it for a long time, you need to increase your load time. With a lot of the American Cropes, 20 seconds is all I need to get plenty of passes, you know. All right, well, glad to put another use on this little guy. We'll watch him grow. And now, one of the nice things about using a bowl to shave with, I can use the bowl to wash out my brush and give it a good rinse as I let the water go into the bowl. And then I tilt it like this so that the water then can go out. So I'm not waiting for this whole thing to fill up to clean my brush. And then it's giving me constantly fresh water and giving me good rinses, and it's very quick. Whereas other people have to use their sink, but who knows what my 9-year-old boy has done with this sink. You know, killed rats in it or sprayed bleach cleaner on it or something like that. Who knows? So let me do some cleaning here. So I just took this brush out of the bowl there after rinsing it out and just wanted to show you this from Semogue. And Semogue does have a few like this where it's painted and underneath the paint is wood. And so if you soak it the wrong way, you can split. I soaked it with the water coming a little bit too high, so the wood, and I soaked it for too long with it being that way. I should have had the water level maybe being about right here, but it got up into the wood, caused the wood to swell a little bit, and so that's why I got the crack. Well, a little bit of personality. It doesn't affect the workings of the brush at all, but you know, it's something. So if you want to soak these guys, do it, but bring that water level down to here to help yourself out. Now this is what it looks like fresh out of the water, and then I sling it, and then take it over to the towel. Our goal here is to dry the brush as much as we can. Also to flex the bristles when it's a young boar. And now it looks a little different than before, and we can spread out the bristles just a little bit to increase airflow into the knot. And at this point, we have removed so much water that it doesn't matter if you set it on its base to dry, or if you hang it like you have a rack. It's going to evaporate the same amount. The gravity's not going to affect it because there are not droplets of water in here anymore. They're not going to be affected that way. So doesn't matter. You can always leave it on your base. You can hang it if you want. Either way. So that's what that guy looks like once he is gradually opening up. Do we see any split tips? Looks like there's one that's starting to. Yeah, not a whole lot. They're definitely not standing out. So this one may take a little while before we start seeing those split tips. I think it's going to be a really good brush. I bought it as a joke almost because this guy's so cheap, $12 or $15, can't remember. But he's so small, but he works really well for me. I'm so glad I bought it. I wanted an example, a use case of the extra grade bristles, and this and the 620 have the extra grade bristles, and the 620 has a small plastic or acrylic handle, and it's very short and it gets really slippery when it gets soapy. This one at least has this little valley right here that lets me kind of hold on to it with a couple of digits in different ways, and so I've gotten used to this and I'm happy with it. But I wanted an example of that, those extra grade bristles, otherwise I probably wouldn't have bought it. But I'm really so glad I did because it's very different. It's more scrubby than any of my other Semogues. I've got about 7 other Semogues, and it's scrubby in a way that those are not and probably will never be. And so this definitely represents a brush in the future that's going to end up to be very different. Who knows? It might land in the future after these tips have split in a really happy place for me, and who knows, maybe those other ones that are so comfy right now because of their lack of all that backbone, maybe they aren't quite as nice in the future. We'll see. My skin might have wanted maybe a balm, but I just felt like using that Clubman, the Whiskey Woods, and I think I'll be fine. I've got oily skin. It bounces back pretty well, but that is more feel than I usually prefer. So I'm going to play around with different blades and see what happens with this razor. And if it continues to be that way, I might pass it on to somebody else who will enjoy it more, because I have a whole lot of other razors that are smoother. 3 teaspoons of water, 50 seconds of loading, 3 teaspoons of water. I felt like I had it at a good level. I think I stopped at the 2.5 point. And so this half teaspoon that I added was on the 3rd pass when I realized, you know what, let's see if this gets creamy. It did not. It got just a little slicker, a little nicer, but it didn't change in viscosity in a good way. So I don't think this lather is going to be that way. So we're going to try face lathering. We'll do the Marco method on it, where we just do lots of loading. Some different methods just to play around with the soap, and as I put more uses on it, and we'll see what we get. I don't want to forget to say that while I'm not getting the creaminess that I'm looking for with this soap, I have always gotten nice slick shaves, and so it's doing its job. It's protecting. I'm just fussing about nuances because after all, we have so many soap options out there. Where this guy shines is the scent. I love it. Where it shines is the value. This hard puck, you know it's going to last a long time, so you're going to save some money on your soap. And so I think those are the strengths there, the scent and the value. So we will keep going, see where we end up. But for right now, those are some pretty good strengths. So today I learned that the 21 Aristocrat from the UK is capable of nice close shaves, but it comes at a little bit of a comfort cost with the feel of the blade. It did feel consistent. It did feel held well, so that it's moving across my face. It's not really chattering all that much, but it's still some blade feel there. And some people, that might be exactly what they want. So the 16s and the 66s and the 15s might be a little more mild than some people might want. So the 21, I think, is a great one to look at if you like the beauty of these vintage Gillettes from the UK. The knurling pattern on here is just spectacular. Just like it's shaven with jewelry. And the little brush did great as usual. The soap, been reporting on that, how I feel about that. We will play with other blades in this razor, see if they change or if that's just a consistent feel that I usually will get with this razor. And yeah, I think the Whiskey Woods works nicely. I think it's compatible with this soap. I think it's working well. I think it's a nice changing from that warm spicy to slightly boozy and woody. I think it's a very natural transition, a very interesting one. So I'm happy there too. I think that's all there is to report for this one. Pretty good shave. I appreciated the nice closeness, and I don't have any irritation. My face feels good. Yeah, oh, almost baby butt smooth without even going against the grain on my cheeks. So nice close cutter this combination is. Well, there we go. I sure hope there was something here to help you out. This is Sugar Daddy Shaves. Take care. Good night.